I'm Flavia Zimmerman from the Australian Institute of International Affairs in Western Australia, and today we have with us Professor Gordon Flake. Professor Flake is the CEO of the Perth USAsia Centre, and today we are going to be discussing future political developments in the light of the Trump inauguration. Good having you with us, Professor Flake.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Professor Flake, in the eve of Donald Trump's inauguration, we already have quite significant controversy. Could you please tell us how do you perceive Donald Trump's leadership style and whether it could increase anti-American sentiment and compromise American interests in the world?
Well, let me start with a caveat, and that is when it comes to observing American politics, I've not been exactly accurate for the last year. Like most analysts and journalists, I didn't see the Trump candidacy as a serious candidacy. I didn't believe there was any way he would actually win the Republican nomination, and I didn't believe there's any way he would actually win the presidency. And yet here we are 4 days away from the inauguration, and I should make it quite clear that I've been wrong regularly. One thing I think I've been right about, and it's something that living here in Western Australia, I have a different perspective on than I would have had I been in Washington, D.C., is precisely the question you're asking, which is the international reaction to his election. To really understand that, I think you have to go back 8 years and look at the election of Barack Obama. I spent the better part of 25 years in Washington working on Northeast Asia, China, Korea, Japan. And my colleagues and friends there at that time never believed that Barack Obama would ever be elected president, because clearly America, as a fundamentally racist nation, would never elect a black man to be president. And in that context, the election of Barack Obama 8 years ago was a tremendous boon for American soft power around the globe, because to have someone elected who was raised by a single mother, who was spent some time in Hawaii and Indonesia, had the name Barack Hussein Obama, and it was African American, really said a lot about American democracy. And as a result, with the exception of a few countries for some very specific reasons, President Obama's popularity internationally has always been by orders of magnitude greater than his popularity at home. And so if you understand that, you can understand the tremendous bewilderment and dismay that has greeted the election of Donald Trump. So for countries like Australia or others, I mean, the weeks before the final election, when there were international opinion polls done, in every single country in the world, with the notable exception of Russia, the public opinion poll favored Hillary Clinton over Donald Trump. Again, not surprising. What was surprising is even in countries like China, that was the case. And in most countries, it was by orders of magnitude, right? So more than double. And so we now have a situation where the decision of the American electorate is been greeted with a great deal of confusion. And if you look at the statements made by the president-elect since the election of concern for countries like Australia, where a key element of cooperation between Australia and the United States in the economic arena has been the Trans-Pacific Partnership. And so the unilateral decision by President-elect Trump to pull out of the TPP is obviously an issue of concern. Similarly, provocative statements vis-a-vis China and the South China Seas and Taiwan have threatened to destabilize the region. Again, something of concern to allies in the region, including Japan, of course, and Australia. And in recent days, statements regarding Europe and NATO being obsolete, and the EU just being a vehicle for Germany to compete with the United States have really kind of shaken the faith of allies throughout the world. And then on top of that, you add the considerable concern and consternation related to the relationship between the president-elect and his campaign and his team with Russia. You have a situation where perhaps more than any time during my history, this election is of concern globally.
Absolutely.